All right, it looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody. If you are here, please feel free to use the chat and just say hi and let us know that you're here. Welcome to our workshop for today, which is called Why Research Matters, specifically to your digital marketing strategy, why it's important to do that research related to marketplace, competitors, etc., ahead of time. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining us again. I think you were here for our last workshop too. Hi, Rebecca. Great to see you guys. So something that we like to do with every new client that comes into Top Floor is start them off with an audit. We've found over many years of experience that just diving into kind of a half-baked plan right away without really taking a long look at marketplace, competitors, your existing sales and marketing data, just doesn't really lead to very fruitful results. And doing that work really helps you put together a strategic plan centered around common goals and yield better results. So today we have Andrea Yank, our Director of Marketing Services, and Trisha Timmers, Digital Marketing Strategist, to talk about what kind of research you can do if you are in a situation where you're kind of putting together either a 6-month or even 12-month marketing plan. These are some of the steps that we recommend that you take. We like to keep these very conversational, so please use the chat. I see a few more hellos. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Please don't hesitate to use the chat to ask questions. We really love when you guys kind of lead the conversation in a way where you're asking questions that Andrea and Trisha can help you get answers to. So don't hesitate to use that. Yeah, I think that's my whole spiel. So without further ado, I will pass over the mic to Andrea and Trisha.
Sure. Thank you. So as Anne touched on, I have a few slides here and I'll go over what's on the slide, but then most of it's going to be just, overall discussion. And we really want to answer your questions. So make sure you put them in the chat. This is how it gets, it becomes valuable to you, right? We want to know what you want to know. So addressing the big question, the why research matters. Basically, we want to reduce the risk and wasted resources. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we want to test in marketing. There's new things all the time that we want to do, but we want to understand what's working and what needs a different strategy, right? Because we all have those budgets that are tough to work with. So I'm sure you want to use it in the best way possible. We want to improve campaign effectiveness and ROI, of course, with everything. It can uncover valuable insights about customers and competitors. So if you haven't done a check-in with your customers or competitors in recent times, things might have changed. The markets are always changing, so a good check-in, pulse check on that. Allows for more personalized and relevant messaging. So especially when you're running multiple channels, we tend to do what we think is best for each channel. But then when we bring it all together holistically, maybe our messaging seems a little disjointed, and that can be fixed if you really are taking a temp check of everything. And then facilitates better budget allocation. So back to the reducing risk and wasted resources. Honestly, we just want to use that budget in the best possible way to get the best possible results.
Before we get into some of the weeds here, one question that might be on some people's minds that is on my mind that I'll ask you is, how often would you recommend doing this type of research? Is this something that you would do on like a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis?
Not to the extent that we're going to present here. I think you can certainly have quarterly and monthly check-ins with your efforts, but you're not necessarily going to do a competitor deep dive or a touch point with your customers. So that would probably be best serve you more on like an annual basis when you're looking at what's my strategy for the next year. Here's what or even if you're planning to propose what your budget should be for the next year. Let's do a temp check on everything that we've done in this last year. What have we learned? What do we have to pivot on? What do we want to continue doing? Is there any new channels that we want to test this next year? This is a good audit to do, basically, to understand what's next. Let's plan the next 12 months for that budget.
Another thing to go off of with that too is when you're going through a strategy, maybe it's not working and and then you want to pivot to something else. Instead of trying to jump to the next thing that might work, like take a little bit of time and maybe do some of these steps to dig into some like the competitor analysis and see what they're doing, or look at your efforts and see what has been working, so you can kind of duplicate that as well too. So you may not need to do the full audit, but there's definitely parts of this that you can do when you're doing those temperature checks too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too, especially as there's so many emerging channels and it can be very overwhelming to decide where do I need to invest, and do I need to drop everything right now to, throw everything into this new channel or into something that's kind of trending. I think that's a really good point, Trisha, to just kind of like, let's look at the data. Let's look at the research. Is my customer base using this platform? Have they adapted to that yet? Just taking that time makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Or even if a channel suddenly isn't working as well as it was before, diving into, do I still need to invest here? Have things changed with this channel? Like, do I need to invest that other places? I think that'll answer those questions as well.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So since we went over a little bit why the research is so important, let's talk about how you actually begin this process. Might seem a little daunting, but let's break it down into a couple manageable steps, because we know you're not going to be data scientists overnight, but there are some things you can do about making smart, informed decisions by doing some of these steps. So first thing you're going to want to look at is the thing you have the most information on is your own business. So you're going to want to look in the mirror. And some of the steps you can do to do that would be, the first one would be a SWOT analysis. So it may sound kind of basic, but it's very valuable in the part of you're really going to dive into what your strengths are, your weaknesses, especially in the digital space, and the opportunities that you could possibly seize, or maybe there are some threats out there that you should be aware of that your competitors are doing. And the most important part about this is make sure you're being very honest with yourselves, because this is your business. So you can be very critical and crucial about the things that you are finding, and make sure you're really counting on like the strengths that you find, making notes about how you can duplicate those efforts. And then if there are weaknesses, looking at how you can flip that and make that more of an opportunity for you. While you're going through this SWOT analysis, you're going to want to make sure you're looking at it by channel as well too. Look at your current marketing efforts. What are you doing? Are you sending out email newsletters? Are you on LinkedIn or other social media channels? Are you not on social media channels? Do you have a website? How is your website? How is everything there? You're going to want to list out all of these different resources so that you can really gauge at what's working and what isn't. And when you're there, make sure you're making note also about the successes that you're seeing and maybe where you're falling a little bit short, because this is going to give you that baseline that you're going to need while you're looking at your competitors. And then also while you're looking at the different channels, make sure that you're paying attention to the different buying stages that your audiences may have. Consider that customer journey and think about like the moment they realize what they need, that when they're doing their active search, looking for like that solution, service, or product, to when they're going to finally make a purchase, like make a decision. Do you have all that information that that person would need at each of those steps on your website? And are you providing that information for them to find it effectively online? Like, is your website really setting them up for success that way?
And I actually think those three bullet points kind of play on each other. So the buy channel, by buying stage, and your website. If you're looking at the by buying stage, what channels are you using and what buying stage, and are you using them effectively in that buying stage? Because obviously there's some that work better at different stages than others. But then also your website. So is your website set up to bring in by channel at a particular buying stage? basically the people that are at that buying stage to offer them the content that they're looking for at that buying stage.
Yeah, that goes back to like your audience too, and knowing your audience. If your audience is on LinkedIn and they're looking at your page and they're finding some products or services you provide, well, that's going to take them to your website. And then when they get to your website, is it easy for them to navigate it? Does your website clearly explain the service or value that you're going to offer them? Another thing to really keep in mind too is your website mobile friendly. I feel like, especially since like about 2019, mobile and desktop searches were pretty much neck and neck when it came to what people were searching for. But now in most recent statistics, mobile devices are about 60% of web traffic. So you're going to want to make sure that when people are scrolling on their phones, that they can navigate your website through their mobile device and find the information they're looking for as well too.
And obviously a lot of our clients are B2B, so they were slower to adopt the mobile first or mobile friendly technology, but actually we're seeing the same trends on the B2B side. So in all of our B2B clients, people are accessing the websites mobile. So don't think that because you're B2B, you're safe and you're beyond that and you only have to worry about desktop. No, you definitely have to worry about mobile experience as well.
Well, especially with everybody working in all different locations too. Like maybe they're looking at something from 8 to 4, but then 7:00 at night, they're like, oh, I have that one task I'm trying to figure out. I'm just going to do some quick search as I'm sitting here with the family scrolling a little bit. So just keep that in mind that wherever they are, they may be looking for that information at any time. So their phones, what they're always going to have like in their pocket in their hand too. And then like your website is your most found, like that is it's your business card, it's your showroom, it's your first point of contact. So mobile or desktop, you're going to want to make sure that first impression is there and that your customer can answer the most basic questions that they have about the service or solution you're trying to provide for them as well. And then after you're done looking at your own situation, once you've assessed that, you have the next logical step to look at your competitor's landscape. So while you're doing that, you're going to want to start by looking at their active channels. Identify your competitors in the business. Some of them offer maybe similar products and solutions to you. May not be an apples to apples comparison, maybe more like apples to oranges, but that's okay because you want to have a different plethora of competitors you're looking at to make sure you're covering all of your bases and all the audiences that you have available to you. So when you're looking at their active channels, look and see if they are on social media, if they're using video efforts for their creative. Are they using YouTube for that? Are they embedded it on their website? How audiences are seeing some of their creatives? Are they heavily in paid advertising? This will tell you where they're really focusing their efforts and where your customers might be looking. So with their creatives, think about the marketing materials that they're putting out there and the kind of messaging that they're using, if they're using images more or if they're using videos a little bit more. And are they focusing more on benefits of their products and the features, or are they focusing a little bit more on the technical specifics of it based on what your audience is looking for? Because you can use this to learn, you can learn from this approach to how you can use this on your end for your business as well too, and how you can actually interact with that audience and create some more engagement. To dig a little bit deeper into the engagement side of it, it's not just like how many followers they have on their Facebook or LinkedIn, or how often they post. It's a little bit deeper than that and how their audience is actually interacting with their content. The content they're posting out there, are they having a lot of meaningful comments and shares? Are they creating some really good discussions on their posts? Or is it just kind of a like and great job, it's good to see this kind of stuff? Are people asking questions and are they expressing genuine interest? You can look at a lot of the stuff that they're posting and you can use it as if it's a little bit superficial or if it's highly engaged. And if they're using that content and it truly resonates with their audience, you can duplicate that and use it on your own efforts. Kind of let them be the guinea pig to how you want to try new efforts on your account if you haven't yet. See how it performs on the competitors before you put all the effort in yourselves. This is a great way for content testing on your own efforts as well. And this will help you kind of measure successes and failures on their end, and it might help you see what you could pivot your business to do as well. And then
Go ahead.
You're going to say something, sorry. Also then with looking at their social media too, also look at their website and see what they're doing there. Do they have any interesting features that are standing out that maybe you would want to do something similar to your website? Or do they have like a really cool value added calculator or interactive piece that your customers would be very useful for your customers to have too? Is there something that you could do to add that to your website to make your website stand out a little bit more, and also could be part of one of the buying stages too, as someone is going down that customer path? So just make sure you're looking at their websites too a little bit, navigate and see how answer some of the questions that you would want customers asking themselves when they come to your website. If you can easily navigate through their website, think if customers can do the same on yours as well too.
I would add to this just a little caveat on like duplicating, I guess, what your competitors are doing. I know what you mean, Trisha, but just so everyone listening knows, we don't mean just straight up copy and paste.
No.
You want to be original, and you also want to be speaking to your own unique company values. But a lot of these takeaways, I think, don't even necessarily have to be about your competitors. For example, if there's other websites that are maybe adjacent to your industry, or things that you like, or you see like this is a really effective user experience, whether they're a competitor or not, take note of those things, because they could be applicable to your website and something that you might want to incorporate into what you're doing as well. So I just wanted to add
if you could see like your content being presented in a similar way, it doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I want to touch back on in the beginning, the SWOT analysis. So a lot of times when we talk about SWOT analysis, we're looking at the business as a whole, and more of the holistic business as opposed to specific marketing. When we do our audit, we actually look at more specific to digital marketing. So what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats within the digital space? So you could do both, of course, if you need to understand that at the high level, and then take it down to the digital marketing specific SWOT, then that's certainly an option. But that's what we do. I
guess to go off that a little bit more, to dig a little bit deeper into like the SWOT, when we say like a strength for digital marketing, an example of that would be, how is your online presence? Do you have are you very strong with your social media aspect? Let's say you have a really strong LinkedIn audience or LinkedIn engagement, your audience really active with your posts. You're always you're posting very consistently and people are asking really good, high engaging questions. That would be a strength for your SWOT analysis. You're very highly engaged and interactive audience on your social media channels. And then for example, a weakness of that would be maybe you're not ranking as well for a certain keyword, or a certain keyword that pertains specifically to your business that you would want to be. So that would be an opportunity to optimize maybe that specific product page for a certain keyword and make sure you're reviewing the content on that. So they all really play into each other, but it's definitely more of how the customers are seeing getting to you for the digital space with the SWOT analysis than more of the overall this holistic approach when we're looking at it too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess just to recap where to start, after you start by understanding yourself, look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your current online presence, and then look at your competitors to see what they're doing. But remember to dig a little bit beyond the surface to really understand the why with their strategies. So now that you have that solid foundation, we can go into some of the research resources that we use and with the digital marketing strategy and looking at all of this. So what are some of those tools and resources you can use to gather some of this information? Well, Google is a great tool in general. You can, with Google, you have your search. So let's begin with Google, and many of the customers journey begin that way. So from basic search results, simply by searching terms that your customers use will reveal a lot about their actual journey about finding you organically. So it shows also their journey there, and then it also will show you some of the competitors and the content that is considered relevant by search engines when people are looking in that process. So the Google search results are also going to help you show up what shows up when they search for your products and services, the kind of content and competitor you're ranking with, and then also if you have any of the featured search results available to you where you could possibly rank with those keywords as well too.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to occasionally check back on search results too, because Google's constantly changing how they're presenting search results. Obviously, they're adding in AI search results. So looking at some of your top keywords and how, like, is there an AI presented search result now? Okay, now I have to start thinking about that, because that's just pushing us down further and further. You could be ranking 10, but it's not going to show on the first page anymore because you have the AI search result, and then maybe you have like a snippet of people also ask, or here's some additional questions. You have some kind of featured snippet off to the side. So just looking back at those Google search results every once in a while to understand too, like what's going to affect your ranking and your traffic coming into your site. And what do you have to start thinking about? Like, how do I get into those spots? So,
and it will also help you see if there are any new competitors coming in the area too. Like you may have your 3 competitors you always keep in mind when you're doing your like competitor analysis, but when you're doing those simple searches just with your own company or other non-branded keywords, you can find new competitors popping up too, just to keep you aware of and keep your finger on the pulse that way.
sure.
And then also with Google search results, I feel like a tool that a lot of people don't necessarily think about or is easily forgotten is Google Search Console. It's a free tool from Google, and it's pretty essential because it helps. It is the understanding of your website search performance. So it tells Google what keywords are driving it. Like it will tell you what keywords are driving traffic to your site and which pages are ranking well for them also. So it really is kind of like almost like a backdoor, I feel like, into Google a little bit, because it will help you understand how Google search is understanding your website and what keywords people are using to find your website as well too. There is another part of it that it will also tell you if you have any like really major technical issues to your website, in case anything is like hindering any of the visibility of why people can't maybe find you. So this can definitely be a very crucial step to help for people when they're trying to find certain products or services when searching for your website online. As they're searching for your website, you're going to also find what language are they using, which would be like what keywords. So Google Keyword Planner is a free tool as well. And you can also use that to search for keywords that are related to specific products or services that you are providing. And it'll provide you with keyword search volume, maybe even give you some keyword ideas related to the industry that maybe you're not using, that you can implement on the website and make it like also a vital part of the process of making sure your website's optimized for content and your overall SEO strategy too. With some of these tools then too, there's also Google Analytics is a great tool that you should also have to be able to like, which is great to have you be able to track your website traffic and user behavior. You can see what pages are performing the most and where your website visitors are actually overall coming from too. So it's good at interacting with people. It's good at seeing how people are interacting with your website. And you can also see where people are coming from, like if they're coming from certain search engines or social media, which will also help you look into when you're doing like your SWOT analysis, if your social media channels are driving a lot of traffic and is considered a strength for you as well too.
Yeah, let's pause on that one for a minute because I think I want to talk a little bit more about other reports that are available in Google Analytics. So obviously you can see where your traffic's coming from, what type of engagement you're getting from each channel. But I would also have you look at within the Explore section, you can create pathing reports. So you can see, okay, if somebody came in on this page, which I'm using as a landing page for several different channels, where do they go next? Do they drop off? How many of them drop off? Do they engage with something? Are they bouncing around and eventually getting to something? Do I need to make that path shorter? That is super important information to have when you're looking at, do you have everything you need on a landing page for a particular channel, right? Or do you need to make that conversion path a little bit shorter? The other report that I really like to use is actually the demographics. So obviously the age of cookies is coming to an end at some point in the future, but for now we can still get demographic information on the first party traffic that you're getting. So please use that, look at it. Some of it is helpful, some of it is pretty general, but you can at least have a good idea of of what kind of people, what types of interests the people that are coming to your site also have, so that you can capitalize on that. And then page speed insights, actually, if you have Search Console, that is rolled into there, or you can use that tool separately too. So we don't really need to talk about that one too much. The Google Ads Transparency Center. So a lot of people don't know that this is out here, but basically you can look for the Google Ads Transparency Center and put in somebody's website and see if they're running ads, and then see what ads they're running. So you can actually see like ad text, or if they're running display ads, you can see what they're running. Obviously you can't see who they're targeting or what kind of performance they're getting, but at least you can see like, okay, how are they putting themselves out there? Are they? So if they don't show up, it's likely that they're not doing it, but you can at least see those that are. We already talked about social channels, but for sure, looking at not just the followers, but engagement on the content for sure. Different types of resources that they're putting out there that people are more engaged with, both yourself and your competitors, right? I think this is super important too, though. When you're looking at yourself, talk to your existing customers. And if you don't have a direct contact point, talk to the department, your internal departments who do, because they have probably a lot of insights that you just don't know of yet. Mm-hmm. So that could be your sales team, that could be your customer contact team. Could be any of those. And then directory and peer-to-peer review sites are also good to look at, so you can get overall sentiment of both your sentiment reviews, right, or your competitors. Maybe one of the sometimes what we find is that some of the common themes is that they just don't have post support on some of their products with competitors. Okay, that's something that we need to tout as the brand that wants to stand above them, right? So like if those potential customers are seeing, oh, there's a lot of complaints about not having post support, but this company says they have amazing customer or post support. So, obviously that's something that you can use as a value proposition there. And then heat maps and session recording tools. There's paid versions of these, but you can also sign up for some free versions, and it will give you like a limited number of sessions. But I think that's super helpful to see, especially if you're evaluating a particular landing page or your conversion path. Just looking at how people are using a website, and it might help you understand what to change, what to eliminate from the noise of your website, right? Anything more to say on the resources, Trisha?
Just with the directory and peer-to-peer review sites too, is those can be a little bit, people may not think of those right away, but it really does help you see inside of what your customer is saying and what they think about you and your competitors as well too. So it's really a useful tool to use when you're doing your competitor analysis to really see some of the pain points that your customers have and how you can relate to them and address those pain points for them as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to pause us really quick. So we are running a little bit long, which is okay. I don't want that to deter you, Andrea or Trisha, but if you're here and you do plan to head out at 10:30, ask your questions so that we can answer them before you leave, and you will get a recording of this. So however long after we go, you'll still get whatever you missed. Just wanted to put that out there. Carry on.
And then I guess the last thing that we wanted to touch on was the insights to actions. So identifying trends and patterns. So obviously what common threads emerge from your website data, customer insights, competitor analysis, pinpoint effective channels. So what is working? What isn't working? What do you need to maybe invest more into? And then again, where your competitors are seeing engagement that maybe you need to start spending a little more time on. Refining your targeting. So using that demographic, behavioral, interest data to narrow your focus. And I would actually say on top of that, and maybe this goes with the next bullet point too, is refining your messaging too. So making sure that you're putting out cohesive messaging across all your channels, but then using the right messaging at the right point within those channels, depending on what buying stage that you are targeting, right? Optimizing your content. So creating content that addresses the needs and interests you've uncovered through your research. So those pain points, making sure you have resources for those pain points and you're directing them in the right areas. And then test and iterate. So use your findings to launch your campaigns, track the performance, continually refine and approach based on the results. So pivot where you can, create a pivot plan. So I'm going to test this, but here's what I'm going to do if that's not working.
Cool. I have one question for you guys, and I think this is the last slide of your presentation, correct?
It is. Yep.
Okay, so ask your questions, everyone. Otherwise, one question I have for the two of you is, how do you distinguish, looking at your data, something that is a significant trend, like worthwhile investing in or using, I guess, that research to incorporate in your strategy somehow, or if it's just kind of like, well, this is maybe a fleeting thing, this is just due to maybe it's the economy or something like a fad. Like, how do you distinguish what's worthwhile investing in versus something that might just be kind of a fleeting thing?
Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely core channels that are just, you have to invest in no matter what. And your strategy should be all encompassing there. It shouldn't be trendy necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But there are going to be things that pop up that are particular avenues like TikTok, right? You're like, do I need to do this? Does it make sense for my business? And you can kind of pull that out by not just longevity of like how long it's been around and what people are seeing, but also you can't, like, you shouldn't be afraid to invest in those things either. So like, if that's something that you're like, great, this is really popular right now, we have the time and the budget to invest in it, let's treat it like that though. Like, we're not going to throw everything at it, and we're not going to, put all our eggs in that basket, because it could go away, but we should probably capitalize on what's trending right now. So yeah, keeping those separate, I think, and keeping the strategy different for sure.
Yeah. I think another thing to go off that too is like what Andrew said, ask the question if it makes sense for your business. Just because it's out there and just because it's popular doesn't mean it makes sense for you, and doesn't mean that that's what your audience, doesn't mean they're on that platform or they're even in that space. So just make sure you're asking those questions too, to make sure it's relevant that way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is going back to a few slides ago, the where to start SWOT analysis conversation and starting that research. What like internal team members would you recommend a marketer go talk to also start some of that research or ask questions about competitors or the marketplace? Like, who else could be involved so that marketing person isn't just feeling like they're on a little island by themselves?
Yeah.
Let me answer that question in just a second, actually. I think Nicole had a question about,
oh, yes.
I think it's specific to social, but I'm seeing, she said, I've used both recommended times and to post and test times, but I'm not seeing a difference in engagement. What are your thoughts and recommendations? Could be the content. So yes, obviously recommended times are, are good to go by, but maybe that's not it. Maybe it's the type of content that you're putting out at those recommended times as well. Also, is your particular audience following the general recommended times? It could be different. Yeah.
Or are they even on LinkedIn? I mean, I think for a lot of us, they are, being in the B2B space, but maybe that's another question to ask yourself is the person that I want this to reach on LinkedIn? That can also be helpful too.
It can go audience and algorithms too, and how people are actually engaging with the site. Like, they're constantly changing which content's being shown first too. So if try to create a little bit more maybe engaging content with the audience, try to get them to engage more.
Or asking them to engage too. So are you posing questions? Are you just sending them to the website? Again, on LinkedIn now, say that they aren't serving as many posts that want to take you off the site, which makes sense, right? They want to keep you on LinkedIn. So keep that in mind too. Mix that up a little bit so you can see if there's a difference.
Yep. And variety to the, what's the right word, format, whether it's video or even trying just plain text and no image. I know sometimes on your personal page that works better than making it all flashy and marketing-y. I think sometimes just a straight up post, just copy, can look really authentic too and get engagement. So I would just say keep testing. Don't necessarily just rely on the time of day or whatever LinkedIn recommends to see success.
Could also be looking at your competitors, see what they're doing, see if they're posting on certain days of the week or times, and see if it's successful for them or seems to be. See what the difference is between your post and their post also.
Cool. All right.
Back to your question, Anne.
About go ahead. Do you remember it?
Yes. Who else you can talk to while you're doing this analysis? For marketers, I feel like the first person you should think to go to would be the sales team, because they are definitely the people that are talking with your customers the most, or I would hope they would be. They would hopefully have a little bit more insight into the pain points that they have and maybe some behaviors that your customers are having that maybe you're not seeing on the marketing side. Sales and marketing should work really closely together to be able to capture the ideal customer. And they should be able to provide a lot of information for you, I would hope, on that aspect of that. So go ask them and see how, what their customer experience is like with their customers and what the customers are looking for, maybe the questions they're asking them too. And you can use that with the analysis, and it could also maybe provide some opportunities for the website or content ideas as well too. Also, depending on if it's a product or service, if it's a product and it's very technical, maybe the product development team or maybe some of the engineers to see if there's some more technical information or data that should be added to the website, maybe even doing a buying guide or download that other audiences that would be interested in finding if they're looking for that kind of information too.
Absolutely. All right. I think that wraps things up. Yep. So thank you all for joining and sticking around a little bit later while we kind of had some of those questions and final thoughts. I wanted to let everybody know we do have a roundtable, in-person roundtable coming up on May. I should know this. I think it's the 21st. But there's a link here that I will send you all to. May 14th. Thank you, Martha. I knew it was divisible by 7, apparently. So feel free to register that. It kind of dives in deeper to this very topic. I know Andrea will be there. Trisha, I believe, will be there. I will be there. So if you want kind of more practice with this and kind of learning from your peers, I definitely recommend joining us for that. So hopefully see you there. Otherwise, hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Thank you, Andrea and Trisha, for leading this discussion, and we will talk to you all later. Thank you so much. Bye.